is a hateful supremacy movement based on the belief that women are disadvantaged as compared to men, that this is a societal problem and that it needs to be fixed.
By any means necessary.
You didn't exist. You don't exist. You're not there.
In the last couple of weeks, Ava, we wrote to a lot of MPs. So in the UK, MPs, these are like politicians, local politicians. We wrote to a lot of MPs in regards to the domestic abuse bill, and we got a couple of answers back. And I collect the answers, and unfortunately, I have to say that all the positive answers came from male politicians. The female politicians only wrote very generic, neutral answers like, yeah, I care about domestic abuse, when our letter was very clearly about male victims of domestic abuse. Or they were outright feminist and they said, of course, men need help as well, but men are just not victims of domestic abuse. And then you had, in all of their emails, you had the same talking points and bullet points from Women's Aid. It was copy and paste, and I'm terrified. I know that there are great women out there that will fight for men, but I don't think that a lot of them end up in positions of power. I think it's women like Elizabeth, it's women like you that have a social consciousness and want to change something for the better. Unfortunately, I think most women in power want power. And luckily, we have a few female politicians that seem, I can't say they're on our side, they're not men's rights activists, but they want equality, which obviously we as men's rights activists want. And one of these politicians is actually a minister for women and equalities, and she turns out to really care about equality.
Well, sorry, can I just
Yes.
go in just for 2 seconds and just say
Sure.
that for any politician, if you give them an easy access to power, they will take that. You know, like it's supposed to be the job of the society, and obviously the society is not doing it, but it's supposed to be our job as the people to not make it easy for politicians to abuse power. And we have handed out this incredibly easy road for female politicians to take if they want power, and it's going to be inevitable that so many of them will take it.
Yeah.
The definition of a politician is literally someone who wants power. So, you know, you can't be surprised, and you certainly can't take it as indicative of ordinary female behavior. That
No.
they are doing that.
I'm talking about the combination of female and striving for power. And I think I've got the feeling that male politicians, because it's in the male nature to serve women. Overall, I think that men in power are more happy to do things for women and to create laws that protect women, where women even more so.
It's definitely the smart thing to do. It's definitely the smart thing to do, because women vote more than men. You know, women are more socially conscientious. And when you say, you know, to a gynocentric society, I'm going to help women, everybody applauds. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton, you know, 50 years after the 1963 Equal Pay Act, Hillary Clinton is standing on stage saying, you know, isn't it time women are paid the same money for the same work? And it's like, no, it was that time 50 years ago. You know, what are you going to do? Outlaw it again? You know, it's just like, it's kind of like a Family Guy joke where Lois runs for mayor and she realizes that all she has to do to get crowd approval is keep saying 9/11 was bad. Like to every question, the answer is just 9/11 was bad. And that's kind of what, you know, these gynocentric politicians do to every question they say, isn't it time that women got equality?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I do think that actually this idea we have of, you know, the whole of society being gynocentric and or gynonormative, I'd say, you know, where
Just
this
a
is
second.
kind of more extreme.
Just a second. Marta, do you know what gynocentric means? Good. Okay.
It is a bit of a paper tiger. You know, I think that if you look at, you know, look at Philip Davies' performance in the last general election, he, you know, the mainstream media threw so much crap at him, and the Women's Equality Party stood their candidate against him, and, you know, that was funded by all these rich sort of and middle class and upper class kind of posh girls, you know, and he shouldn't have won by any kind of logical, rational analysis. But yet the people in his constituency like him, know he's a good MP, and obviously, you know, or I assume, think he's right in the stance he takes, you know, for example, against the Istanbul Convention. So yeah, I think a lot of MPs are scared to be honest. I mean, when I've spoken to Philip, he says that from both sides of the benches, both sides of the House, MPs come to him and say in private that, you know, they agree with him and they're grateful for what he's doing, but they're just too scared to say it in public.
I bet Jess Phillips is one of those MPs.
I was wondering because, as I said, when we contacted MPs, you know which MPs are outright feminist and man-hating, and I was actually considering getting in touch with their opponents, their political opponents, and feeding them with some information and actually saying, maybe you can run your campaign as a campaign for real equality. And if you say the MP hates men, but I want to help everybody, women and men, maybe that could actually be a strategy to get them out of their seats.
I would certainly hope so. It might,
as you said.
Sorry, so I was just going to say it might also get them out of their seats, just because people will say clearly this person's a patriarch, you know. But I would certainly hope so.
I don't know. I think most people are good. Most people want equality, and I think most people, when you ask them, do you think that men and women can experience domestic abuse? Almost everybody will say yes. And if you ask them, do you think that both men and women should get help? Most people will say yes.
Well, feminism is very much the purview of the middle class, you know, like as in the more prestigious the university, the more likely you are to find feminists at it. In terms of like working class universities, you know, where people are desperate to get out of a difficult, impoverished environment, they don't care about feminism because feminism is so decadent. Feminism is like, oh, you said the right thing, but you said it in the wrong tone, all that kind of stuff. The working class person can't afford to think along those ridiculous lines. You know, so I mean, the working class woman cannot afford to say that men are useless, you know, because poor people rely on one another. You know, so it very much reminds me. Well, it very
not anymore because of the social system. So poor women get support from the government instead of from the father. So, and that is the horrible thing, that men are more and more replaced by the government on all levels. In the higher levels, men are replaced by women being pushed more and more into positions of power, even if they don't want it. And I'm not saying that most women don't want it, but I think there is a push society pushes them into power, and on the lower levels, I think it separates men and women from another and replaces family with a government. So I understand where you're coming from, Het, but I think they did a really good job in destroying the connection between men and women everywhere.
Yes, yes, they did. But what I mean about, in order to abuse the system, quite often you need a good lawyer, and that requires money. So it tends to be more middle-class women that will really use the system, you know, as malevolently as possible. Working-class women, although the government does help them, the government will not necessarily be able to give them as much money as they will need to live. So a lot of poor women are still not able to abuse it in the way that a lot of middle-class women are. And you know, what I was going to say is that it seems, you know, just an entire repetition of the kind of the tea ladies that you would have seen in the 1800s, you know, women, middle-class white women, aristocrats, who would have sat round with their cup of tea and would have talked about how awful the world is and how they want to help people and blah, 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 you know, and it would be very patronizing and like, oh, one day, you know, I think I should go and help this little poor person I saw. I mean, that's what modern feminism is. It's just very, very wealthy women sitting around in a circle talking about how they are the only good people in society.
Yeah. Yeah. Ava, what's your time scale for the movie? Like, are you working on it right now? When do you want it to be finished? What happens if you don't reach the goal with the crowdfunding? What's the situation? How much do you need us?
How much do we need you?
Well, I think when as long as the world stays open and I'm allowed to travel, as soon as the crowdfunding for let's think that the crowdfunding will meet its goal, then I will be able to travel the world. I have to go to America, I have to go to England and to Australia as of now. That are the 3 countries that I'm going to interview people on location. I haven't been able to really know when I'm able to start, because at the moment I'm in Spain and it's closing up again. But that doesn't mean that I can't start as soon as this the crowdfunding is finished and I've met the goal. I was planning to start as soon as possible with the travel and with doing the interviews. This can happen quite quickly because a lot of people that I'm going to interview are in the same location. If I go to America or go to Australia, I was planning to shoot on location for the first couple of months, and I was hoping to the interviews by summer next year, if possible. In the meanwhile, I'm interviewing various people digitally because some are too far away to travel to. Some need to be anonymously, and we can do it on the internet just as well. So my plan is to get it finished by summer next year, if I meet the goal. If I do not meet the goal, it depends on how much I'm getting with the Indiegogo campaign, because for example, for 60,000, I'm able to make this documentary digitally, which will not have the same impact as it will be when I shoot on location. But the things that are talked about with the whistleblowers and the people that I'm going to interview are so important that I really do want to finish it, even if I do not make the goal. I can do that for less than the goal is, but it will just be digitally then. So I'm aiming to finish it anyway.
And how are you planning on releasing the documentary?
What I really want to do is put it on every free platform there is, YouTube or BitChute or Vimeo, anything that's where it's allowed, because I would like to see everyone being able to watch this documentary, because I think that if I will put it on a platform where you have to buy it, red pillars are going to buy it, and and they will show it to friends and family if they are interested. But I would like to see everyone being able to watch it. So what I'm aiming to do is put it on YouTube and everything that that allows this to be on, so everyone can see it.
Can I just say that that really says something about what your priorities are? You know, as in, this is clearly not you using men's rights as a way of making cash. This is you trying to get a message out there, and makes it all the more important that people donate.
Well, yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes, that's truly what I've been thinking, because before I started this documentary, I already was so skeptical about, because I was making YouTube videos, as you know, and just because the first video was against women a little bit, against feminism, they got me shadow banned immediately. So that made me a little bit skeptical about making a documentary and put it on any platform where you have to buy it, because I believe that they will not allow it there as well. So when I started this documentary, my aim was already to put it on every platform, and anyone can download it and put it everywhere. So it has to be, so they cannot remove it. So I think that's the best thing to do in this day and age, I think.
But am I right in saying you're also hoping to release DVDs and possibly even cinema showings, if that's possible?
Yes, obviously, if it's possible, that's really my goal to do. Yes, I would like to be able to put it everywhere. Also on platforms that allow me, I just don't know where, iTunes or Amazon. I just don't know. I haven't looked into that at this moment. But just everywhere, you really need to see this. If it's a possibility to do this in cinema as well, I would like to get it everywhere. And I'm also planning to make this on DVD. Yes.
I mean, this is purely about, you know, spreading the word, because we've all already done this. We did this back in 2016. We had cinema showings. We had, you know, congregations. We know what to do. All it matters is getting the right people involved.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right.